Hey everyone, and welcome to another Synced Up Designs Equipment Basics video. My name is Kyle, and in this one we're going to be expanding our weapon technique by introducing flourishes. Similar to our drop spins video, all the ideas that we talk about for flourishes are going to directly mirror the same ones that we talked about for our flag flourishes. This is because conceptually and technically the approach is going to be the exact same. The only difference that we're going to see is going to be weight distribution throughout the equipment and how we control that, and I'll make sure that we go over that as we go through this video. Now real quick, before we get into any of that, if you could just take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel, it would really mean a lot to us. And if you want to stay up to date with anything we post in the future, go ahead and hit that bell icon down below. And with that out of the way, let's go talk about flourishes. So before we go over the details on how to effectively execute a flourish on weapon, let's first talk about what flourishes are. A flourish is going to be similar to drop spins, circular continuous motion of the equipment. The only difference though is that we will stay connected to the equipment the entire time and utilize wrist rotation to allow for that circular and fluid motion as opposed to disconnecting from the equipment like we did with spins. The flourishes that we are going to be going over today will be forward flourishes in front of you, forward flourishes to the side of you, and then reverse flourishes. So we'll be going over three major flourishes on both sides with both pieces of equipment in today's video. First, we're gonna go over our forward flourishes in front of us on the right side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right hand and I'm gonna place the palm of that hand against the back of my strap. I'm gonna wrap the thumb along the back of the neck and my index finger and middle finger around the front of the neck. My ring finger and pinky will be connected to the gun, but I don't wanna think about engaging a grip with those fingers. I actually wanna loosen them up a little bit so it's a bit easier to accomplish the flourish as we go through. And I'll explain why that is a little bit more in a second. When I do this, I am going to extend the rifle out in front of me, the bolt facing away from me and strap facing towards me. I'm gonna turn towards the side so you can see the pathway of the gun, but notice my shoulders are still facing the rifle, which is why this is called a forward flourish. From here, to initiate my flourish, I'm gonna start by pushing my butt forward and allowing the nose to start to rise up. The nose will go behind my forearm as the butt goes forward, and then that motion is gonna continue until the butt and the nose have essentially traded places. From here, I'm gonna pull the butt back towards me as the nose drops forward. The butt goes on the inside of my forearm, and it continues that all the way until they go back to the position that they started in. That was one half of the flourish. From here, I'm gonna continue that motion, allowing the butt to push forward and the nose to rise up. The nose is gonna go on the inside of my forearm, and I continue that motion all the way through until I switch places with the nose and the butt. And then I continue that one last time, butt going behind my forearm and nose dropping forward to go back to that very beginning starting position. And that's how I've completed that full flourish. So essentially both ends of the rifle or the equipment that you are spinning are gonna go on either side of your forearm at different times. First, it's the nose that goes behind my forearm, then the butt that goes in front of it, and then they switch, the nose goes in front of it, and then the butt goes behind it to finish off that flourish. Now, talking a little bit more in detail about the grip of your fingers. When you are doing the flourish, you really want to maintain your toaster and stay within the plane as you do it. If I was to grip my fingers, it's gonna be a lot harder to maneuver the rifle and I'll have to use a lot of my arm and cut a lot of my planes. If I loosen that grip, I'm able to utilize a little bit more of my wrist rotation and the energy of those three fingers to keep the equipment in the toaster, kind of thinking of allowing the nose of the rifle to sweep past each side of my body very closely. I'm not super far away from my body, but it's nice and close and within my toaster. To do this same flourish on the left side, I am gonna take my left hand and place it underneath at the clip, essentially where it would be in a left flat position. Again, same idea in terms of engaging the three fingers, my thumb, index, and middle finger, and having a little bit looser of a grip with the other three fingers. I place the strap facing towards me and the bolt facing away, and this time when I do these flourishes, I'm gonna think about flipping the nose and the butt. So instead of pushing the butt down and the nose coming back towards me, I'm gonna push the nose down and the butt is gonna come back towards me. Butt will go on the left side of my body, they switch places, and then we repeat. Nose goes on the inside of my body, then they switch places. I continue that motion to allow the butt to come on the inside of my arm, and then drop down, and then the nose will go on the outside of my arm, and then it returns back to that starting position, and then I would have completed the full flourish. So outside, inside, inside, outside of that forearm as we go through, again flipping the nose and the butt order. Now the difference between the left side and the right side on rifle specifically is that when I did the right side flourishes, I was in the neck of the gun and the weight was a little bit more evenly distributed as the butt had a little bit less of the rifle on the top, but then there was more rifle underneath to accommodate for that weight. But now that I'm on this side of the gun, there's a lot less weight above my hand than there is below it. So just be aware of that. There's not necessarily a big difference in terms of the approach of technique that you take, but you just have to be aware of the weight and make sure that you're engaging the squeeze of your fingers to control the timing of the flourish when you apply this to technique exercises and things like that. Now we're going to move into side flourishes on the right side, and the approach to this technique is going to be pretty much the same as the forward flourishes. The only difference though is I'm going to take my shoulders and I'm going to open them up to where the right shoulder is facing the rifle, but the left shoulder is on the opposite side. I'm still going to do the same pathway where I push the butt out and the nose goes behind my forearm to switch, then the butt goes on the inside to switch, repeating opposites on the other side to finish that flourish. But the only difference is that I'm opening that shoulder, so I'm completing these flourishes on the side of my body. Again, everything that we talked about prior still applies. The pinch of the OK hand, the rotation of the wrist, and staying in your toaster as you go through this. Although I'm not facing the rifle with my entire body, I can still make sure that it is brushing past the front and back side of me as we go through. So a really good way to remember this is when you do the forward flourishes, think of it in terms of right and left. When you do the side flourishes, think of it in terms of behind or in front to help you remember the direction of the rifle. You can also still turn your head to face your rifle as you do the flourish to make sure that it is staying within that toaster, but to make sure that it stays a side flourish, you just want to be careful not to allow your shoulders to twist and then face in towards the gun, because then at that point you're doing a forward flourish. And then to review it on the left side, you're gonna grab left hand at the clip, still thinking about pinching those 3 fingers, pressing it out to the side of your body, opening up your chest to the front. Push the nose out to allow the butt to travel behind the forearm. They switch places, then the nose is gonna go in front of the forearm to switch places. We repeat that one more time, switching sides. The butt goes in front this time to switch spots, and then the nose goes behind to switch spots as we go through. And everything we talked about in terms of toaster and grip of the hands stays the same. One added detail to this is you want to make sure that you are trying to limit the amount of side-to-side motion. Naturally, you're going to have to move your hand a little bit side to side to allow it to clear your body as you go through the flourish. However, I am not making it super drastic because then that's affecting my plane and the toaster that I'm staying in. So you really want to make it minimal as possible. And again, isolating wrist rotation as opposed to using full arm motion as you go through those flourishes. And then the last flourish that we will be covering today are going to be our reverse flourishes. So we'll start on the right side, right hand at the neck, same grip ideas that we've been talking about. And we're gonna have our shoulders facing towards our rifle, strap facing towards us, bolt facing away. I'm gonna turn to face the side just so you can see the motion of the rifle. Instead of initiating with pushing the butt forward, we're actually going to initiate the reverse flourish by pulling it back. So that's going to be the difference. When you want to do a forward flourish, you push forward. When you want to do a reverse, you pull it back towards you. To start, we're going to pull the butt back and it's going to go on the right side of my forearm, or from your perspective right now, it's going on the back side of my forearm, all the way until it switch places with the nose. So as the butt drops backwards, the nose is gonna start to rise up forward, and then it goes to this position right here. From there, I'm gonna continue that motion, allowing the butt to rise forward, and the nose is gonna drop down towards me, this time going on the left side of my forearm as we go through that. So up and down from there, all the way until it switches. Again, similar to what we did with forward flourishes, this was only half of the flourish, so we're gonna do that one more time, but reverse the directions by pulling the butt down on the inside of my forearm, the nose going up, and then the nose drops on the outside of my forearm as the butt comes up to finish out that flourish. So we go, pull the butt back to switch, pull the nose back to switch, butt went on the right, nose went on the left. Then we repeat doing the other sides, butt going on the left to switch, and then nose going on the right to switch that reverse flourish. Again, keeping the idea of the toaster in mind, trying to keep the bolt facing away from us the entire time, and allowing this rotation by lessening the grip in our fingers and allowing for more looseness in our wrist rotation. And then doing it on the left side, we're gonna take our left hand, place it underneath at that point where the tape meets the painted part of the rifle. We'll be facing our gun. Instead of pulling the butt back towards us, we'll pull the nose back in towards us, allowing the butt to rise up. And this time the nose went on the left side of, or sorry, the right side, the inside of my arm. Then the butt's gonna go on the outside or the left side of my arm to finish that first half out. Then the nose drops on the outside as the butt comes up to switch places. And then lastly, the butt will drop on the inside as the nose rises back up to finish that flourish. So all together, finding this motion here where it's reversing back towards you. Now I want to quickly go over what the flourishes are all going to look like on Sabre. The approach is going to be the same. I just want to review which part of the Sabre we're going to see pass as we go through the checkpoints of the flourish. So we'll start with the forward flourishes on the right side. Right hand is going to go about the center of the blade because we're going to try and find a little bit more equal balance between each side. It's still going to be a bit heavier on this side, but we're going to pull it a little bit closer to the center to help us out with that. To do a forward flourish, I'm going to push it out away from me. The cage of the Sabre is facing away. I'm going to start by pushing the tip of the Sabre down, and the hilt is going to go on the right side of my forearm to then switch places with the tip. From here, the tip is going to go on the inside or the left side of my forearm as the hilt starts to drop forward, and then they switch again. That is one half of the flourish, and then I repeat. Hilt will go on the inside this time as the tip drops. They switch places, and then the tip will go on the outside of the forearm as the hilt drops, finishing that out. So we go hilt to the right, tip to the left, hilt to the left, tip to the right, and that was one full flourish, maintaining that loose grip in just the 3 fingers, as well as trying to stay within our toaster as we do that. When we do flourishes on the left side, we are going to actually flip the Sabre over and grab in the same spot with it mirrored on the other side. As opposed to keeping the hilt on the same side and doing kind of like a left flat idea, we're gonna flip it over to this side to do this out as we go through. From here, my left arm is going to be extended out, cage facing away from me, shoulders facing my Sabre. The hilt is gonna go on the left side of my forearm, tip on the right side, and then the hilt will go on the right side to repeat, or sorry, the hilt will go on the right side to repeat, and the tip will go on the outside to finish that out. So hilt to the left, tip to the right, hilt to the right, tip to the left for the other side. And then we continue that motion to do the forward flourishes in front of us on Sabre. To do the side flourishes, we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're just going to open our shoulders to the front, keeping our equipment to the side of us. The hilt is going to start by going out behind our forearm as they switch places. Tip goes on the inside of the forearm or the front of it from your perspective. Then we reverse that, hilt going on the inside and tip going on the outside to finish that out. One side comment with flourishes on Sabre is like how we kept the bolt of the rifle facing away from us, we want to keep the cage of the Sabre facing away from us as much as possible. So really think about pinching that thumb against the back part of the Sabre to allow yourself to maintain that positioning. Again, it's going to do some slight angle positions as we go through, but we want to try and keep that hilt facing away from us for as long as possible, flipping it over as we pass through those flourishes. To do it on the left side, it's the same approach. We just put it in the other hand. Leading with the tip, we push it forward, hilt goes up behind the forearm, and then tip will go up in front of it. We reverse that by letting the hilt go up in front and then the tip go up behind to complete that flourish on the left side. And then a reminder, you can turn your head to look at the flourish to make sure that you're staying within your toaster. Just be cautious that you're not letting that shoulder close off and turning it into a front forward flourish. And then lastly, to go over the reverse flourishes, you take everything that you did with the forward and you just do it in a reverse direction. So we do the the reverse flourish in front of us by pulling the tip back towards us, going on the outside of that forearm to switch places with the hilt, and then the hilt will go on the inside of the forearm to switch places one more time. We then finish the flourish out by switching that direction, tip going on the inside while the hilt goes on the outside to finish it out. So tip on the right, hilt on the left, tip on the left, and then hilt on the right. There's a pattern there where they switch after the first half of the flourish. And then we have our reverse flourishes in front of us. To do it on the left side, the tip is gonna go to the left side of the forearm to start as the hilt goes up, and then the hilt will go on the right side to finish the first half. Then we reverse that, tip going on the inside and hilt going on the outside to finish that out. Again, loosening that grip to allow for that consistent and fluid rotation of the flourish going through that. So one thing I want to point out when it comes to doing flourishes on weapon is that there is a little bit of variety in terms of how you hold the equipment when it comes to doing the flourish. So, for example, when I had you pick up your saber, I had you place your right hand in the blade with the hilt down and the tip up to do all of your flourishes. When you do this, you are technically able to do flourishes with the saber flipped. So say I was at a left flat position and I put my hand in the blade, I'm able to do all of the flourishes that I just went over with the same amount of execution. I just have a different hand on the equipment as we go through. Same thing with rifle. When we did right side, my right hand was at the neck and I was doing those flourishes, but you are technically able to flip that with the butt down, almost as if you're in an inverted right flat position, and you're still able to do the same flourishes. And then the last thing I want to cover is something that I've been kind of brushing on throughout this entire video, but I want to expand on a little bit more, is going to be the isolation of what body parts you use, which is specifically going to be your wrist. When it comes to the flourishes, you want to isolate wrist rotation with this skill set. You do not want to use your full arm, elbow, and shoulder to execute this skill, because that's not going to allow you to really engage that specific muscle and increase the flexibility of that muscle. It's also not going to appear the same when you're doing it in an ensemble setting. So the goal ultimately when you're doing flourishes is to isolate that wrist, but then also allow it to make sure that your body is staying still, that you're not allowing your shoulders to sway side to side or your chest to move or anything like that, as well as not allowing the elbow to rise up and down, but really just keeping it nice and smooth, calm, and collected as we go through this. That arm stays straight the entire time as I do my flourishes, and I'm really trying to isolate it in the wrist. So now to review everything we talked about in this video, we went over how to do weapon flourishes. In this video, we talked about 3 main flourishes you could do, which were the forward in front of you flourishes, the forward to the side of you flourishes, and then the reverse flourishes, kind of covering all the things that we did to make sure to execute it properly for both pieces of equipment. We talked about the direction that each side of the equipment will take in relation to your forearm and the direction that you initiate, either going forward or going backwards for the different flourishes. After we went over both rifle and saber on the right and left side, we talked about how you can kind of be a little bit different and diverse in the approach you take with flourishes, specifically when it comes to the placement of your hand on the equipment. On saber, we can do our regular right flat and then our inverted left flat, but we can also take it to the other side, placing our hand underneath the blade with the hilt up, or the other side of that as well. Same thing applies with rifles. So just making sure that we take some time to kind of review that and see how that differs in terms of weight distribution. Overall, the approach and direction that you take for the flourish stays the same. And then after that, we ended with just a little bit more detail on how to isolate the wrist rotation and maintain a calm and controlled still body underneath the flourish, making sure that we don't allow it to sway side to side or to falter, and we're really isolating wrist rotation. And that was our video on weapon flourishes. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you are a little bit more excited about adding a new fundamental to our technique for weapon. Anyways, if you found this video helpful in any way, please consider liking, and if you have any questions at all, the comment section down below is always open to you guys. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one, and happy spinning.